So it's the 100th anniversary of the German 01 class Pacific, and this sort of kicked off a chain of events in my life, resulting in this kit built loco. So everyone is kind of aware that a big part of the cost of a model is the labour involved in building them. The advantage of kits to a manufacturer is that the labour is provided by the hobbyist. Unfortunately, it's not as clear cut as that, just evidenced by the fact that there aren't cheap kits on the market, or there's very few, and those are quite old. Obviously, you've got the old Dapple, formerly Airfix, formerly Kitmaster locomotives that are still out there from the 60s. And then Revell have got a small range, which I think really come from the 1980s. From what my understanding of Scalemates, this particular model comes from 1982, and it was cleaned up in 2003. So the Revell kit here, it's actually a very nice kit, but it has limitations. They've tried to pre-colour the parts to make it easier. In the end, my own thing is I quite like the plastic to be fully painted because it has that translucence that you can't get rid of. So I'm going to have a look at the pros of the Revell kit. The chassis is brilliant, and I think as a standalone piece, maybe sitting in a yard or on a wagon load without the wheels, I think it would actually look really good. Let's lift it up. It is a really nice representation of the 4-bar frames. You got all the air spaces of the original, and there's a lot going on there. The tender's actually pretty good as well, and again, oops, I've separated it anyway. I think it would look great sitting in a workshop on its own, and the fact that you can model it empty just gives a bit of variation to a layout, because all ready-to-run locos have coal fitted, and it's usually disguising the electronics underneath. They do intend it to be built with a coal, so there's that piece, and it's got the front beams or whatever that hold the coal back, but it's a simple scratch building task to put those in from plasticard if you wish. Where the model is let down is the boiler, really. Firstly, it comes in 2 halves, so there is a really noticeable seam along the top. That took quite a lot of time to buff out, to fill and buff out, and in the complicated areas around the dome that's very difficult to do, and you probably see witness marks on it in the paint there. All of the I would say they're handrails, but some of these are like control rods and things. This is the reversing rod, something to do with the whistle there, including the whistle actually. They're all moulded onto the boiler, and I've sort of carved away a little bit of the whistle to make it look a little bit more round, and the gold paint really makes it stand out, but that is a moulded part. And it's the same on the other side. So here's the other side, and as I say, all of these are moulded on, and on ready-to-run locos now a lot of this is separate. Now Revell wanted to achieve a model that most skill levels could build, even unpainted, and have something they'll be happy with. So that's the compromise route that they took. To do this loco justice, I think you would have to go to a full multimedia kit. So injection moulded for the bulk parts, brass with injection moulded plastic holders for all the rodding, because brass makes nice round and straight parts, whereas if you're injection moulding it, it naturally gets a seam, and quite often you can see sag in it. It doesn't hold itself up that well. And things like the smoke deflectors would benefit from being photo etched brass. And if you're a company today looking at doing that, that's suddenly an £80 model. It's not a £30 model anymore, which slightly puts you into the realms of second-hand, ready to run. So in some cases, if you wanted to scratch build a loco, you'd be better rummaging around older models. I think these are my reasons why manufacturers haven't gone all in. The other thing that has been suggested is that they could do lots of variations, all the tooling variations. This is an 01 at the end of its life in the 1970s. Certainly late 60s it got the computer number, so very late on. You've got heavy modifications to the tender, obviously the front there, and changes to the equipment. All of that would add cost to the model kit to provide all those extra parts. I have actually scratch built the smoke deflectors. What I ended up doing is backdating the loco to the very first production, and they had these smaller plate smoke deflectors. It's a relatively easy shape to form. I did it out of very thin plasticard. The harder part is to make the bead, and that was done with evergreen strip wrapped around the edge, glued in one place and then let to dry, and then glued across the top, let to dry and glued down the front. So it's a multi-stage process to get that shape. I'm quite pleased with it. One of the reasons I did that is because of the limitations of plastic moulding. Here are the large Wagner smoke deflectors that were provided in the kit, and you can see in the middle here sink marks, and where it is, it would be very difficult to eradicate. I've tried to fill and sand it out. If I go too hard on that, then I start damaging these small creases that are part of the character of the loco, and I could damage these bands of rivets as well. So the sink marks are caused by these location pins, which help you build the model, but actually they cause a cosmetic problem. Which is why, you know, if I was suggesting it to a manufacturer today, I would say that that would have to be photo etched brass. Another limitation of the material are the windows. I didn't use these in the end because they've got horrible sink marks in them. It just gives it a funhouse glazing problem. Thankfully, they are just square or rectangular windows, so it's very easy to cut from clear material and put them in yourself. So I had a bit of fun painting the cab. I thought some of the nicer effects to lighten up the cab. But it's not that detailed in there. Oops, I'm making a mess of this. Right. So we get the key limitations of this style of kit. Firstly, it could never be a functioning model. All the valve gear is set at its angles. Plus, it's actually quite lightweight, so it would probably derail anyway if you tried to tow it. The chassis is completely rigid, like the real thing actually, but it won't go around model railway curves. So this is primarily a display piece. The second drawback is the paintwork. Thankfully, this is a very simple scheme with very easy marking lines so that you can mask it all out. The boiler has to be spray painted. Trying to hand paint it just shows all your brush marks. The chassis you could hand paint, and the valve gear, I've used some specialist metal paints on that. And don't forget that your paints are part of your cost. There's probably about £20 worth of paint used with all the different colours and techniques that I've put in there. So suddenly this is a £50 model to start with. So it's clear that this style of model has not satisfied the market. If it had, we would see lots more of them, and people would be still making new ones today. So what you would have to have is basically a disassembled version of one of these. So a ready-to-run model that the manufacturer has painted and finished all the parts for you, and all you have to do is screw it together. And to a certain extent they end up working backwards, because they have to make sure it all works and goes together perfectly. Case in point, the cab roof on this is slanted. I didn't notice it was all painted up first. I painted the sides, the roof and the boiler all separate to make that part easier, which meant correcting this problem would destroy all the work I did on the paint. And at 13 hours in to the project, I wasn't about to do that. So I'm having to live with the fact that there is a 1mm lower at one end than the other. Which sort of goes to the other problem with providing these locos as kits. If the customer is not happy with the results, who bears the responsibility? Is it the manufacturer? Is it the retailer? Or is it the assembler? And that would not be so clear cut on what would still be a 80, 90, £120 kit. So this is the style of kit that has been on the market for decades. It cost more than a ready-to-run loco. The reason I bought it was that the LNER P1 just wasn't available. I thought it was a great looking machine. The kit is challenging and it's above my skill level to build it, basically. I've got this far. I've still got all the painting and lining challenges because this loco would have been in 1924 lined LNER black. So every stage of work I risk ruining the previous stage, and which is why the dust is a feature. I bought the kit in the 1990s. I did a lot of work on it in the 2010s, and then I shelved it. It's just absorbing too much time for the result that I'm going to get out of it. It really needs to be professionally built, and I ain't that professional. You know, maybe if I get some time I will cosmetically finish it. But it's a struggle. At the end of the day, what it is the chassis and tender. The boiler actually comes from a Hornby Flying Scotsman. The cab is all new. The cab roof might have come off the kit. So yes, you remove the cab sides and file it back and fit these photo etched cabs to it. So that there is a donor vehicle you had to source. Huge amount of work on the chassis. This chassis is not flexible like this one. So all credit to those that have got them running. That's not my ability. You don't get wheels, motor, gearboxes or couplings with these models. So all of the engineering challenge is down to you to solve. And there's plenty out there that can do a wonderful job on it. I have hit my limitations with it, and my toolbox is not as complete as it needs to be to finish one of these things. So we're back to the compromises on the Revel kit. It is compromised to allow people to finish it. If you make it too complicated, it'll end up like this, a half-finished project that I'm slightly embarrassed about, you know, but it's here, it's what it is. So it was one of those things, people had been suggesting that kits would provide a more accessible, affordable route to the hobby. And you're sitting there thinking there, well, why hasn't it been done? Actually building the kits, I think, provides you the answer. This I'm quite proud of. It came out really nicely. The decals are superb. They're done by Cartograph in Italy. They come with the kit. There are mistakes, and there are things that I'm quite pleased with how they came out. But fundamentally, people are going to want features. A working, running locomotive. And the kit market is not going to provide that easily. So a quick thanks to the beautiful Lenzo gauge Br01. It's a very niche model. The intersection between the people that want one and have the room for one is quite small.